Good evening and welcome to our 2024 College Financial Aid Night. Thank y'all for coming. There's a lot of places you could be. There's a lot of things we have going on campus and otherwise tonight. So we really applaud you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come receive, hopefully, some nuggets of wisdom and understanding. Let's start with prayer from our Director of Communication, Mr. Joe Rispoli.
If you'll bow with me, please.
$20 it's a kid.
Heavenly Father, we are just so grateful for an opportunity such as tonight to be able to hear from those who work so diligently to help these students, Lord, who have been planning for a long time and now thinking about the near future in which they'll be moving on to higher education. And with that, we know that there becomes those challenges financially that can sometimes be a burden. So we're really grateful for an opportunity to be able to hear ways in which we can alleviate some of that pain and discomfort that comes with planning financially. We know that there's parents here that are seeking for wisdom and just for your guidance, Lord, on how we can make this possible and as painless as possible as well financially. We pray for these students as they work so hard in their preparation, that they wouldn't feel discouraged, but be encouraged, Lord, that there are many opportunities to be able to help them in their future endeavor. So we pray for your blessings tonight, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, Mr. Rispoli is recording this event. We will have this posted on the website by the end of the week, okay? So even though you're here, sometimes like reading God's word, you need to go back over it again. So I do highly recommend that you go back and view it, slow it down, rewind it, listen to it over and over again. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact myself or Ms. Booker, our registrar. Okay? Introductions. We do have some students that are a blessing from heaven that are helping us out tonight with our audio visual. So Rachel is in the back. Rachel, if you can wave at everyone. She's in the back. Let's give her a hand for helping out. And then we have Max and Lily on the soundboard. Let's give them a hand as well. Of course, you already saw Mr. Rispoli. And then last but certainly not least, my compadre, our registrar, Ms. Booker, is going to be helping me tonight as well. Let's start everything based on God's word. Two scriptures as I was meditating on what to share came to me. The first one is Proverbs 16:9. It says, "A man's mind plans his ways as he journeys through life, but the Lord directs his steps and establishes them." Luke 14:28. "For which one of you, when he wants to build a watchtower for his guards, does not first sit down and calculate the cost, to see if he has enough to finish it?" Boys and girls, young men, young women, parents, take a deep breath. God's already worked it out. You just don't know what it is yet. Okay? So we need to do our part, but who's in control? He is. We do our part, and he'll take care of the rest. Luke 14:28 talks about considering the cost. Like anything we do in life, we need to do our homework. We need to do our research. We need to do our due diligence. And that includes, of course, one of the most major decisions in life, what college or university to attend as well. We do need to vet our colleges and universities. It's so great that we have all these resources available to us to vet. One is called the U.S. Department of Education Scorecard. We'll go there in a minute. But I want to explain it to you first, and then we'll go to it and see what it looks like. Once you click on the website or go to the website, you click on the search bar, you type in the name of the college or university that you're interested in. On that, you click on the school, and a plethora of information, years and decades of research will pop up. One is the graduation rate. Another is the average annual cost. Median earnings. The return rate. It's called retention rate, but retention rate in education sometimes gets a negative connotation. The retention rate here is re-enrollment, okay? And then the student debt data. financial aid, and debt. All of these are on the college scorecards. So let's take a look at what it looks like. So this is what it looks like when you go to the link, and up top you see the search bar. Let's go ahead and type in the college, university that most of our students attend currently. Of course, this is fluid, it could change in the future. But right now, most of our graduates attend Texas A&M University. So let's go to Texas. Let's type in A&M. We're looking for College Station. It's down towards the bottom of this. All right? So on the thumbstick, it shows you a basic overview of the school. So it says that the graduation rate is 84%. Ladies and gentlemen, that's high, 84%. The average annual cost is $20,000. The median earnings, this is normally a 4-year projection, which of course is analogous to starting salary for graduates, is $72,000, all right? Now, if you want more detail on that particular school, you would click on View School. So let's go ahead and click on View School. And you see up the top it has 4-year school, whether it's public or private, whether it's in a city setting, whether it's large, medium, or small. You scroll down a little bit and you'll see some numbers we've already seen, but it gives additional information. Not only does it give you the raw data, but it also then gives you what the median is for 4-year colleges and universities, so you can get a comparison with that school versus other schools, all right? So you take a look and it shows you the graduation rate, the average annual cost, the median earnings, but then it gets better. Let's scroll down a little bit. All right, it has cost right there, which goes a little deeper dive. Graduation and retention. Again, retention here means re-enrollment, right? And then let's click on the financial aid and debt, because I think that's why y'all are here tonight. So let's take a look at financial aid and debt and look at some of the data. So when you click on that, you dig down a little deeper, it shows you the amount or the percent of students receiving federal loans, 27%. The median total debt after graduation, that's a big number to keep in mind, $17,804. Of course, now a 4-year degree is equivalent to like a high school diploma 20 years ago. So I would recommend maybe you, when you compare different schools that you get a yes from, and you take a look and vet them, take a look at your offers, you need to consider the amount of debt for a 4-year degree versus an advanced degree. Take that in mind as you continue to move through your decision. Typical monthly loan payments. Again, I love this website because it is filled with decades of research. So it gives you really great data, okay? So that's what it looks like. Let's go back to the presentation. And I'm a data guy, so I could spend like maybe 10 minutes on each university, all right? It's up to you how much time you spend on it. You can compare several schools at one time. I love this feature. Of course, it's called the compare feature. So what I did was I compared our 3 schools that most of our graduates, at least last year, attended or enrolled in. Texas A&M College Station, University of Texas at Austin, and Texas State University. There, that bullet point below, I give you the step-by-step of how to compare more than one school at one time. Let's take a look at the link because that will show you the comparison of the 3 schools. All right? So you see here up top, it gives you that we are comparing side by side 3 schools. So we scroll down a little bit. The first one is average annual cost. We take a look at Texas A&M on the top, University of Texas Austin second, and Texas State third, and you have a comparison line by line on that particular metric, average annual cost, okay? Let's scroll down and look at graduation rate. Now, we had a game that took place on Saturday, I believe, and Texas defeated Texas A&M, but these 2 schools are very competitive, are they not? Well, take a look at the graduation rate. 84% tie. That is amazing to me. Texas State is a little behind them. Median earnings. You scroll down a little more. Median earnings, it shows you what the median earnings is after a few years out of graduation. And you see there the numbers. So again, what I love about the comparison scorecard is you can take a look and directly compare different schools with one another. I compared 3. I don't know what the maximum is. Maybe you can compare more than that. But, 3 is a good start, okay? All right, you can back out of that. Let's go back to the slide show. All right. So I do want you to take some time to explore this website, okay? So again, I'm leave this up here, but you'll get to search and you type in the name of the school. And then from that, you click on the school and then you can research different metrics, graduation rate and those others, plus more, okay? So I do want to give you 3 minutes to explore this website. So what I'd like you to do is pull out your electronic device. And why don't you go ahead and type in on your Google search, collegescorecard.ed.gov. And once you click on that, you should see a search bar, and then you simply type in the name of a college or university. And then you can go and explore. If in the 3 minutes you've already finished one school, then go back and let's do a second school, okay? All right, some great information there. I encourage you to do a deeper dive anytime that you would like to glean more and more information. All right, I'm accepted, now what? So you have completed the 9-step college application process that we covered back on college night in September. If you weren't able to make that, that is posted. We did record that as well. That's posted on the Office of Academic Advisement link on our website. So please go back and look at that as well. I do want to specify a couple of things. And I'm going to say this in a lot of presentations. Yes to Common App. Apply Common App. Yes to Common App. Apply Common App. Yes to Common App. Apply Common App. Now look at someone and tell them no, don't apply Texas. Tell them, go ahead, tell them no, don't apply Texas. Don't. No, do not apply Texas. Listen, Apply Texas has a lot of technical glitches. I noticed it, Ms. Booker noticed it, but then when we started visiting college campuses, their admissions officers confirmed all the chaos that was happening with Apply Texas. Until further notice, Brentwood, don't apply Texas, okay? Now, this is a new, I don't have it in this slide, but we recommend that you apply to 7 schools, at least 7 schools, okay? So we recommend that you apply to 3 REACH schools. Mr. Jones, what's a REACH school? A REACH school is a school when you look at the criteria for student acceptance. You might not have everything you're looking for. But you know what? If God moves and you get into that school, hallelujah, glory, okay? Those are REACH schools. And then 2 on-level schools. On-level of schools, when you look at the criteria, you look like you're right in line with what they're looking for. Those are on-level schools. And then you always want to have 2 safety schools. Some people call these fallback schools. So that's the 7, all right? 3 REACH, 2 on-level, and 2 safeties. Now, you have waited to receive your early decision, your early action, or your regular decision from the schools you applied to. Listen, I know I've been there. That wait is tough. You're questioning things. Is anybody going to take me? Again, as I said earlier tonight, take some deep breaths. God already has it all worked out. He just hasn't shared the plan with you yet, all right? Let's do our part and let him do his, all right? But once you get your first acceptance letter, oh, the load is lifted. Because now you know at least one school says yes, all right? Raise your hand if you're in the audience and you've gotten 1 yes, at least 1 yes so far. At least 1 yes. Oh, parents too? Yeah, that's a load. Give yourself a hand, give yourself a hand. That's to be celebrated. But watch this. Once you get your acceptance letter, it's not the end road. You haven't reached the finish line. You're like in the midway point at this point, okay? So step 1, you send, college sends your acceptance letter, and then you receive it and you celebrate it. You notify the school and inform them of your decision to attend that school. Now, step 4 is one that a lot of students need help with. Listen, don't burn any bridges. So all the schools that said yes to you, you need to be respectful and professional and reach out to them, thank them, and let them know that you decided to attend another school. But why, Mr. Jones? Not only is it the right thing to do, but also you never know. Your number 2 school that said yes to you, you might go to the school of your choice, and after 1 year, you realize that's not best fit for you. Well then, because you did it the right way, the admissions office, look, trust me, they remember names. All right, if you do right, then when you go back to them to transfer at that point, a lot of times they say, yeah, I remember that student. They did the right thing. Let's let them in. Let's give them a chance, all right? So make sure you thank all the colleges that accepted you and inform them of your decision. Number 5, you submit your financial deposit, which secures your spot. Talk is cheap. These schools want you to put down some money to lock your spot. Makes perfect sense. Number 6, you receive the school's financial aid award offer. They look at your income, they look at different merit scholarships, grants, loans, all that. They make an offer to you. Number 7, you accept the school's financial aid award offer. But you know what? There's a 6B. A 6B is, if I get an offer from a school, but watch this, I got another yes from at least one other school that had maybe a better financial offer, well now maybe we can leverage and go back to that school and say, listen, such and such a school offered me X amount of financial aid. Can you meet it? What's the worst thing that can happen? They can say no. What's the best thing that can happen? They can say yes. And then number 8, you submit any other requested items as needed. Return on investment, ROI. Next slide. What we want out of life is return on investment. The parable of the talents is biblical, all right? Whatever's going in should show an increase. So return on investment is what we're all about. We want, and the formula is return over investment. It should be a positive. It should be an increase. It should be a negative. If it's a negative, it means you put in more than what you're getting out. That's no good, okay? So we want a positive ROI. Let's take a look at a website that can reveal some ROI to us. Go back one slide. Go back to the presentation if you would. Thank you. All right, so the website is free, freeop.org, college ROIs. Don't go there. Don't go there. I found out earlier today that the link is, for some reason, the link is working, all right? But when you type it in, it's no longer going to the same location. So I want you to access it through the presentation that we're going to share with you by the end of the week, all right? But what I want to show you is, once you go to this website, you type in the state, you type in the name of the institution, you type in the major. Mr. Jones, what's a major? The major is your concentrated area of focus, your last 2 years of college normal, okay? Your specific area of focus in education. What I love about it, it also has ROI for earnings at age 25 and earnings at age 45. So it gives you a 5-year and an additional 20-year snapshot of earnings, again, decades worth of data. And then it shares with you the ROIs. Now, I know you probably can't see it too well, but I have a screenshot of Texas A&M University, and it shows the state, the name of the school, different majors. It shows the earnings at age 25, the earnings at age 45, and the ROIs on it, okay? So, on the far right column, when you actually go to this website, on the far right column, you want to analyze in real money, 5 years from now, 25 years from now, in real money, what is going to be the ROI? A wise man, a wise woman considers the cost, and you want to make sure your ROI is positive. Let me use an example. Back when I was growing up, newspaper editors was a big thing. Okay, writing was a big thing, right? Newspapers now a dying field. So now the ROI on newspaper is really a decreasing ROI. So I wouldn't recommend that you major in something that's a negative ROI. It's like you're asking for trouble, okay? This is what the website looks like. So once you go there, scroll down a little bit if you would. All right, it's in alphabetical order. So Abilene is where it starts, Abilene Christian University. So it has the same criteria laid out. I do want to let you know there are some majors at schools that the ROI is revealed to be negative. That's a red flag. Either you need to consider going to a different school, or either you need to consider a different major. Okay? So again, this will be available on the link once we share the presentation with you. Just go ahead and click on that link and have at it some great data. Next slide. Let's talk some terms. Y'all know educators, we love all of these acronyms, right? So COA means cost of attendance. Cost of attendance. Now I do want to let you know cost of attendance is a lot more than just tuition. A lot of students get confused when it says tuition $20,000. They're like, wow, it only costs $20,000 to go to that school. If you only pay tuition, it costs $20,000. But often there's a lot more that goes into cost other than cost of classes, all right? One is room. That means the cost of you having a roof over your head. That's a substantial amount of money, okay? So it's tuition, which is cost of taking classes. It's room, which is the roof over your head. Then it's board. Board is your meal plan, all right? And you need to evaluate your meal plan carefully. Boys and girls, young men, young women, you want to probably get the most expensive meal plan. But take it from me, you want to evaluate that first. Often, you're not going to eat. Like you're studying, time gets past you. You might want to consider starting off with the medium grade meal plan instead of the high level one, okay? You will eat out with friends a lot. So the 3 meals you would have gotten at the dorm, you might on certain days only eat once there. So evaluate that carefully, okay? We also have book fees. We have digital fees, etc. So when we're talking about COA, we're talking about much more than just tuition. Net price. Net price is the bottom line, and that is your out-of-pocket expense. Once all financial aid is calculated and it comes from the total cost, the net price is out-of-pocket expense that's due. FAFSA. I know Ms. Booker's going to talk more about it, but FAFSA is, again, an acronym. It stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. Now, often you have to fill out your FAFSA in order to be eligible to get scholarships, loans, and or grants. Right? So I recommend you fill it out. International students, we recommend you fill out the FAFSA anyway. You won't get necessarily money from FAFSA, but by filling out the FAFSA as an international student, it can open the door to other things that would not have otherwise been open. The application for FAFSA opens up December 1st each year, except last year. And this year was a little bit early, wasn't it? Grants. Grants are good. Grants are good. Grants are a form of financial aid that does not usually have to be repaid. Often they come through the government or otherwise, all right? I'm not going to click on the link tonight, but federal grants, it's a list of them, it's a plethora of them to choose from. Scholarships. Scholarships are outstanding. Scholarships are where they pay you to go to school. It's a reward for great academics, a reward for athletics, rewards for being a great student in some capacity or area. Our Office of Academic Advancement has created a database. We're coming up on the 3rd year of sharing this. We share with every 12th grade, and actually we share with second semester or almost second semester 11th graders. Raise your hand if you're in 11th grade. 11th grade. Okay, a few. All right, parents in 11th grade, students in 11th grade, tomorrow morning around 7:30, I'm going to share the database for the class of 2026. Well, Mr. Jones, what's the big deal? The database has scholarships on it. One of the tabs is scholarships. It's over 1,000 scholarships listed there. You have to do your research. Scholarships and financial aid is like fishing. The fish don't jump in the boat. You have to, you have to put the bait on the line, you have to cast out the rod and the reel, and you have to go to work, all right? But we give you all these resources to pull from. Loans. Loans are perhaps necessary, but out of all of these options, it's the least desirable. However, it can fill a void. This is money, usually from the federal government, to help you pay for education, a shortfall. but it does have interest attached to it. That means you pay in the long run more than what you borrow, okay? There are two types of loans. One is subsidized and the other is unsubsidized. Subsidized means to support financially. It's based on needs. Now, I do want to let you know, in that link you can click on and figure out more of the differences, but the biggest difference between a subsidized and unsubsidized loan is that there's more interest that's going to be paid on an unsubsidized loan. So when you have the option between the two, and you have to take a loan, try to get a subsidized loan versus an unsubsidized loan. Thank you for listening, and now Ms. Ward.
So good evening. I hope you guys are doing well. We are about to talk about something that is truly passionate to me. I know that the types of students that we have here at BCS, I know how hard they work. I was talking with some of the parents tonight and talking about how hard they work. And so our objective is always going to be to recruit. Mr. Jones was talking just a few minutes ago about return on investment. For our family, that's what BCS was. It was an investment with the idea that when we got ready to send her to school, we would be able to recoup on that investment. And so that is what our goal is going to be. The first thing I want to visit with, and I move a little bit. The first thing I want us to talk about tonight is the FAFSA, which is the free application for federal financial aid. It is open. If you are a senior in here, you have been probably seeing notes from me telling you to go ahead and set up your FAFSA ID. Just to be clear, I want to make sure that you guys understand this is the only way for you all to access federal aid. Some of you may be thinking, I am not going to qualify for federal aid. I know what kind of income we have coming into our home, but there are schools that require it in order to even give you merit offers. NYU is a school that requires it, like you've got to issue it if they're going to give you any money during any time for anything during your 4 years there. So there are schools that they want that FAFSA. There are going to be some scholarships that you apply for, that they are going to want certain pages of the FAFSA. So I strongly, strongly encourage you to go ahead and complete that form. And when we come to another slide, I'm going to touch on just a little bit going about the form. It is very different than how it's been in years past. If any of you guys have children that are maybe like graduated 3 or 4 years ago, I hear the FAFSA used to be an absolute nightmare. Last year it was hard on us that had seniors because it was so delayed. But I will tell you, it did not take long to complete. They just had lots of glitches along the way because they were going to a new system. But it talks directly to the IRS. You are required to have filed so that it can hit the IRS and come back. But the actual completing of the form does not take long at all. And I heard it used to take hours, like it was an all-day affair. The number of, we talked about that a little bit, and then your student aid index. So when you complete your FAFSA, you are going to get an estimated number. And that number can range from a negative number or it can just soar up there. I will tell you that when you do your initial completion of the form and it hits you back with your SAI, I would say that is pretty close to target. That will give you an idea of how much the federal government is anticipating based on your income or your family income, you being able to contribute to your child's education. You may get that number like I did, and I thought, oh my, do they know something that I do not know? That number was astronomical for us, and we knew that that was not reasonable. And so what we're going to talk about tonight is closing that gap, for those of you that have it. I will let you guys know that the FAFSA can be appealed. Sometimes people just think this is my number, I have got to live with this number. You cannot appeal it through the school, you have to do it through the Department of Education. But if you can produce a reasonable explanation, whether there has been a job change, whether there has been a health issue in the family, I find that I have heard that FAFSA is a bit more lenient towards moving and adjusting that SAI than you will definitely be on the school side and talking about what the need is. So keep that in mind if you get a number that just makes your eyelashes burn. The other piece that I want to talk about is that all active parties must have that federal student aid ID that I talked about earlier. So if you have a child, you have a spouse, or even if you don't have a spouse, if you guys are divorced, everybody that is going to be involved in that child's process has to have that ID number. The student will fill it out first, and then he or she will invite you as parents to contribute. I find it easier, if your circumstance will allow you to everybody sit down at the same table. So when you refer to me, I pick up my part of the baton, I complete mine. If you are married and filing jointly, it is a quick process. Only one person is going to have to complete their section. It is going to attach, and I think it took us last year, and that was with the initial one, it was less than 30 minutes. And this is when I tell you, people told me it took hours and hours, like maybe excess of 12 hours having to come back to it to complete. We can go to the next one. This kind of lets you know, I'm not going to go through the details of this here because they're pieces that you guys can go back and read, but I wanted this reference document to be in our materials so that you know who needs to be a part of that process and when they need to be a part of the process. And if you glance there, like the married, they're filing jointly, it's very quick. It is just a tap. But there are other circumstances. In the past, it used to be that if you had a parent that you were no longer in contact with, it was just tough. You had to figure out a way to get in contact with them. And I'm so glad that has been changed. So if we have students that have parents that they do not have a relationship with, or even parents that it might be harmful or affect their safety for them to have to reach out to in order to get this form completed, those are their exceptions that have now been built into the process. And so I'm very happy for that. We can go to the next slide. And I talked about already in looking at that financial aid, that student index calculator. This is going to be a live link, so when you guys do get the form, I want you to be able to go in there and kind of play around with it and see what you would be looking at. And in this link, you will also be able to see, based on where you fall on that SAI, whether or not you might be Pell Grant eligible. Okay, we can go to the next slide. So this is what I wanted to make sure that we hit on this also, the CSS profile. Some of you, if you are seniors, you have heard me talk about this. If you are not seniors, there are some schools that do not use the FAFSA. They use the CSS profile. It is organized and overseen by College Board. I have a link later on when we get into the presentation of which schools to do, but I will let you know it's primarily private schools. So in Texas, you're looking at Rice, you're looking at Baylor, you're looking at SMU, St. Edwards. Those schools are going to require a CSS profile to be on hand. The CSS profile, I will tell you, is more in depth. It will take you longer to be able to fill out, and there is a charge for that one. It is not free. I believe it's $25 for the app, and then $16 for each school that you're wanting to send it to. So very much like when you're doing things through College Board and you're wanting to send test scores. So just so that you guys are aware, I encourage you, when you're going through and looking at the schools that you're applying to, go on their website, look on the financial aid page, and know whether or not you need to have this form on file. The FAFSA, you can send it off to anyone you want, 20 schools, there's no charge for it. But the CSS, you want to know that if it has to be there, because your school is not going to package you until they get it. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is what I look at as kind of our priority table, and this is how we're going to prioritize, and I encourage everyone to do. Our first segment that we're going to look at are going to be scholarships and grants. That is going to be our objective always. We're going to go scholarships and grants. That's what we're applying for. We're going to keep applying for them, but that is the ultimate objective. The next piece, and when we're talking about funding, is earning. So many of our students work during the summer. A lot of our students work up here during the summer. Bank that cash. If you're getting money from grandma and grandpa, put that money aside. You'll be surprised that you can start accruing some cash, even if that's just your spending money when you get to college. Mr. Jones was talking, he talked about cost of attendance. I've got a daughter who's going to school in Virginia. Part of the cost of attendance of having a child that's in Virginia is flying her in and out. That's expensive. And so you're taking those pieces into consideration, and you need to. You want to make sure that if they've got some extra earnings that are coming in, let's set some of that aside. And I will go back to this. When you were talking about them going out to eat, I want y'all to listen to me, seniors. We have paid for a meal plan. I want you in that dining hall. Do not DoorDash, do not Uber Eats. You need to be in that dining hall eating the meal that we are paying for. Yes, yes. Okay, and then the next one is talking about institutional payment plans. I don't know if you guys are aware, but most institutions will give you the option of doing a payment plan, and that's interest-free. So say, for instance, you've got your loans, you've got your scholarships that have come in, you've got your awards, you've got grants, and you've got like a $10,000 gap that's still sitting there. You do not need to now turn around and say, okay, we've got to look for a $10,000 loan. Most schools will give you the option of dividing that in half, so part in the fall semester, half in the spring semester. And so now you've got 5,000 that you're needing to pay, and then you can just pay it monthly, like on the first of the month, and there is no interest attached to that. In that case, if you can afford to make that payment, that also keeps you from having to do a big, large lump sum payment, and it's usually about $30 to $50 to be able to set up that plan. So I wanted to make sure that you guys do have that just on your horizon. So when it comes time to pay that tuition bill in August, know that if you've got a gap that you think, if I could divide this out into smaller payments, I could do, most schools are going to give that to you as an option. And then lastly, are going to be loans. Sometimes we might find that, hey, we have done everything that we can do to close the gap. Sometimes there could be circumstances that we just were not thinking of. Someone could have a job loss. There could be just expenditures that we were not anticipating. If we're needing to go in with a loan, our objective is going to be to go in with that loan, even if it's just for 1 year, to say, okay, we've got to close the gap this year, but keeping in mind that we're going to be working all of our other angles so that we do not have to continue to take out loans. Next slide for me, please. So when we're looking at merit-based funding, the largest pot that you are going to have access to is going to be your institution. So those institutional scholarships where you guys have been slaving away, taking those AP classes, taking those honors classes, this is where it's going to come into play. I want you guys to keep in mind that for some, and just knowing your application, some it will be a standard. When you fill out the app, they automatically consider you for merit aid. But study and scour the schools that you're applying to. Some will have pieces that you're automatically applying for, and then others will have other competitive scholarships that are available to you. I'm going to talk a little bit more later about a site, it's a forum called College Confidential. I love it because it gives you inside information on the schools that you're thinking of applying to. I am an information junkie. I do not know how else to put it. And so when I am going through, or when I was going through and looking at schools that Juliet was applying to, I wanted to know everything about everything. I wanted to know when they started releasing their decisions. I wanted to know what the decisions looked like who got in, what was the GPA, what was the SAT, what was the ACT. And these parents come in year after year and they talk about it. The other piece that they also do is when there are special programs and initiatives that are available, there were things that I never saw on my daughter's school website, but I learned about from College Confidential. And so when she went to school, I was able to say, hey, go reach out to someone about this. So getting access, and we'll talk more about that, information is power. But I will tell you, since this is the largest pot that we're looking at, anything that they offer, if they've got competitive scholarships that are over on the side, make sure that you take the time to apply for those pieces also. So take the automatic merit, which many schools do, but any other pieces, whether it's departmental, whether it's major specific, make sure that you guys apply for those as well. Know your due dates and your deadlines. I'm going to share a spreadsheet with you guys. I lived with a senior last year, and I get it. It is hard. There is a lot going on. They are busy. Our students are involved in so much on campus, and they are also stellar students. I will be very honest with you. The application process, by all means, that student needs to drive their application process. That is their responsibility. This is the school that they are wanting to attend, and they need to have the initiative and the drive to be able to get into that school. When it came to the finance piece, I very much co-piloted because I know that I am going to be financially responsible in some capacity, and this could not be something that just kind of dropped off the radar. So in managing that process, Mr. Jones mentioned we have lots and lots of scholarships. Anything that I hear about, I drop in. In that database, it is not just scholarships, though, especially to my younger students, any opportunity that I learn of. Our objective is to build that resume so that when we get to senior year and we're applying to colleges and we're applying for scholarships, I want you to be the most polished, the most ready, the most competitive applicant that you can possibly be. So everything that I hear about, I drop in. If I know what you're majoring in already, like you've come by and I know, oh, so-and-so is interested in nursing, anything that comes across my desk that's dealing with a nursing opportunity, I'm going to push it out to you directly. So do not hesitate to come by and say, hey, Mrs. Booker, I can tell you right now I am interested in medicine. So when I see those pieces come in, I know, oh, I need to make sure that I drop that over to her. But check that database, stay on that database. Standardized testing. I will tell you now, 2 years ago, the world was, oh, I don't think we're ever going to go back. We like this. We're looking at a holistic approach. I can tell you now that that is no longer the case, and the direction is definitely coming back to schools wanting to go back to requiring standardized testing. They say that they're still looking at a holistic approach, but from their perspective, it just gives them more insight. It lets them know, from what they're telling us, they're saying that it lets them know if they have additional resources that need to come into play. If they have students that are going to need additional help in math or additional help in reading, they know that on the front end, and it lets them be better equipped. But I will definitely tell you, please, 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 take your standardized tests. I think there is a tendency to be like, I didn't do well, don't worry about it. Take the opportunity to look at both. Look at the ACT, look at the SAT. If you felt like, gosh, I just don't think I did well on my SAT, take a look at the ACT. I think some people shy away from it because of the science component. It is not a science component, and I know I'm kind of going into a different tangent, but it is not a science component like you're sitting in a chemistry class. It is kind of reading charts and graphs. So I encourage you, figure out which one you feel like you can do the best at, and then start working on building that score, because it is important. Even when a school is test optional, I will let you know that oftentimes their larger merit offers you're not going to be eligible for if you've applied test optional. What's covered or specifically excluded, know that when you're reading through, again, information is power. So when you are reading through and looking at scholarships, know exactly what it is that's going to be included and excluded. In some cases, like if you're wanting to upgrade your dorm, that's not going to be covered on that merit offer. They don't want you to upgrade the dorm. They want you to stay at that base level dorm. So just know that. Those are just pieces for you to make sure that you know when you're going in. And Mr. Jones talked about it, but I'll say it over and over and over again. Sometimes I think we have our dream school and we're like, I want to go to Texas, I love Texas, and if I get into Texas, all is right with the world. And that is great. And I tell you, I will do everything under the sun to help get you into Texas. But I still want you to have those other 6 schools that you apply to. It is so much easier to have a conversation appealing your aid if you've got another offer. And we do it very respectfully. I want to be very clear. It is one of those where you do your pleading. It's like, gosh, I really want to come here. I'm just trying to make the best decision that I can. However, I have got a $100,000 offer from Baylor, and we're trying to figure out how do we balance this. I've always dreamed about being a Longhorn. You just want to have something in your pocket to be able to do that. And the best way to do it is to be able to have a school of kind of like kind and quality to be able to compare them with. And sometimes I will tell you, in my own house, we went out for a counter offer. The counter offer was so good that we thought we should probably tour the school, and that's where she ended up attending. So you just never know, but make sure that you do your 7 so that you have got options. I do not want you in March to feel like, gosh, I only applied to Texas. Texas is $30,000 a year, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this. There are other options out there, and you've got more options if you apply to multiple schools. Next slide. And so the next piece that we're going to talk about, we talked about those internal institutional scholarships, which is going to be your big bucket. I will tell you right away, because you can end up with your $25,000, your $10,000, your $15,000. And that is not as common with the outside scholarships. But every single dollar counts. If it's a $250 scholarship, apply for it, because that means that there are probably 200 people that say, oh, that's not even worth it, $250. That's $250 that you do not have to come out of pocket. It could be an air flight. You just make sure that you apply for it. The piece that I would encourage you to do is that I use a concentric approach. The pieces that are going to be most attractive are going to be the ones that are close in. So things that are just to your county, just to your city, something that is going to be affiliated with a sorority, a fraternity, the alumni association, but things that have a small group of people who are going to be applicable for it, okay? If it's major-based, again, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that small group. Only a small group of folks are even going to be eligible for it. The next piece that we're going to jump to would be your statewide and your national. I've got those listed. I'm going to tell you now, a lot of times students will apply for those no essay scholarships. Those are a waste of time to me. They're like winning the lottery. It is a random selection, and so a student will think, oh, I applied for 5 scholarships today, and none of them had an essay. The more complex, and I was talking to some parents earlier, the more complex the requirement is for that scholarship, you know what is also very likely? then no one wants to be bothered with applying for it. And so that means the fewer people that are applying for it, that's less competition for you. You will be the one that says, I will write the 1,000-word essay. Whereas someone else is like, I don't have time to do that. So my encouragement to you when you're looking at your statewide and your nationals, I personally like MOS, M-O-S, and I did not put it up here. I like MOS. I do find that some of them are really, really big. I'm not a fan of like the Fannie Mae. Some of them are just repositories for them to be able to get your data and then just start pumping you with loan offers. Our objectives are scholarships, and so these specifically, I can tell you, will take you to scholarships. I'm also not a fan of BOLD. I know some of you guys do BOLD. BOLD requires you to get BOLD points, which means you have to do other stuff, so you could be a highly qualified applicant, but you don't have enough BOLD points. I'm just being very pointed tonight. And so we don't have time for that. Like, the objective is for you to go to someone who is looking to distribute a scholarship, you are looking to apply for a scholarship, and the two of us meet and we work through it together. I talked just a little bit about targets. Again, I look for things that have essays, long essays. Your student may not want to hear this, but that is what people do not want to apply for. There was a scholarship over the summer. I thought if Juliet could look at me with eyes and drop me dead, she probably would have. But it was 1,002 essays, 1,000 words, and she was just, it's not worth it, it's only $1,000. And I thought, who wants to do that? You had to put it in the mail, it had to be postmarked, and she won it. And so I'm telling you, the things that no one else wants to do those things. That's where we're going to work from. The other piece that I encourage you guys to consider, I like short application windows. So when everyone else is kind of tied up in football season and we've got this 4 weeks and it's only open for 4 weeks, the chances are other people are going to miss that opportunity. So if it's got a short window versus being open for 6 months and now they've got 3,000 applicants, look for things that have a quick turnaround time. So usually like a month, I think those are great. And then I will also encourage you guys, as you get your letters of recommendation from your teachers or coaches or whoever they may come to, whoever you've submitted them to, do not hesitate to ask them if they will give you a PDF of that, because the objective is going to be for you to continue to apply. Some scholarships will require that they submit it directly to them, but many do not. And so if you've got a PDF of that letter of recommendation already saved on your hard drive, you can just push it out. But even if they don't request a letter of recommendation, that's one more thing to make your application kind of stand out apart from others. Next page. As you're going through, just make sure you understand what is being asked. Sometimes I can't tell you how often someone can start an essay and you've kind of got an essay in your mind already and you just kind of go off and start talking, but you did not necessarily answer the question that was being asked. So make sure that you go through each component, everything that they're asking for. Even I'm hard copy, I know that's old school, but check it off, mark it off, each thing, so you know that you have taken care of everything that needs to be taken care of, and make sure that you address whatever question is being asked. Save every single essay that you write, whether it's a draft, whatever the case may be, because when you're applying for scholarships, I can tell you over and over again, the question is always, what do you want to be and why? What are you wanting to study and why? So if you've got that question answered, you can now tweak and finesse that essay however you want. I need to add an extra 200 words to it. I need to take 200 words out. But have that essay together. The next one is always going to be something, a way that you have overcome. Have those essays just kind of in your back pocket and have them saved, because once you really get them and you've got them tweaked just the way you want, now you can just recycle and you can push that information out over and over and over again. Right now, I get it. You guys are trying to study for finals, you're also involved in plays and you're involved in sports, but I beg of you, if you will spend the time, even if it's over Christmas break, to really finesse and put those essays together well, and you can use them over and over and over again, because once you get them and you've got them the way you want, you can just push them out. I will say maintaining a tracking system, and so will you click on that link for me? Thank you. There is a lot of information. There's a lot of information that you are trying to maintain and manage. I highly encourage you to put all of this information into a spreadsheet so that you know who you've heard back from, who you haven't heard back from. You know what you've won, what you haven't won. If you will click on the tab down below that says non-institutional scholarships, slide down lower, lower, right there you go, that's it. Can you slide over, scroll up, there we go. It's not there. Are we all the way over to the left? Okay, I may have to check the link again. Oh wait, there we go. Are we all the way over to the first column? Okay, I'll check the link again. So, but I also maintain them that way. And so I will give you guys just a template. You do not have to use that same template, but so that you've got something just to kind of start on to where you can track them. For us, what worked well in our house was I was the finder. I would go out and find them, I would drop them into the spreadsheet. And then our plan in our home was that I needed you to apply to 3 scholarships every week. That was what we worked. They're in there in date order. You go through what it's been applied for. You mark it off in green, so I know that it's been done. If we missed the deadline, it went in red. But it was a quick code so that both of us knew kind of where she was in the process. But I was the finder. For those parents that are starting to feel frustrated with your senior, I get, and I do understand that. I want to say this, because I'm a senior fan. They are working hard. They are delivering tough stuff in class, and I know that you've got things that you need from them as well. And so if we can partner, if you can partner with your students, say, I'm going to find them, but I need for you to apply for them, I think you guys will find a better partnership. It can be overwhelming for them if they have got, and for some it's not, I do not mean to coddle, but for some of them who are taking AP classes and honors classes, and they're involved in all of these extracurricular pieces, and they've just finished college essays, it can start to feel a little bit overwhelming for them, and they may simply just not know where to begin. Start on the spreadsheet that Mr. Jones and I share with you. I really like MOS because when you put your details into MOS, it will then start to push out to you scholarships that it feels like you would be a good fit for, and then drop them into your students' spreadsheet. And whether it's that you set some time aside on Saturdays and say, okay, this is what I want for you to do. I want you to knock out 2 for me a week. I want you to knock out 3 for me a week. If they're in a study hall, if they can plan it, that was where she was able to hit some of hers. But that was the objective, to do 3 each week. Okay, we can exit out of that. Thank you. I'm sorry, go back to the page we were just on. There we go. The other piece I would say is talk to your financial aid officer. So when you decide on the school that you're going to want to go to, reach out to that office and let them know, we have still got a gap. What can we do? What do you have available? Sometimes it's just a call and someone can say, oh, you know what? I do have $6,000 over here for X, Y, and Z. Let me transfer that to your account. And I promise you that is not an exaggeration. So hound them. That is okay to do. But get to know them and find out about additional opportunities. And I will tell you again, College Confidential, I love that. Parents can give you inside information on different opportunities or programs the school might offer that you otherwise would not know about, that you can have your scholar apply for. And then here is the big one, and this is in bold. Do not stop applying. I think sometimes we get to the end of the year, the student is like, I've made my commitment May 1st, I'm done. We do not stop applying in May. We continue to apply. In the summer, there are so many scholarships, and people are not applying for them because they're done. They're working their summer jobs, they're getting ready for school. Continue to apply. When you get into the school year, there are going to be some scholarships that are only applicable to college freshmen. Continue to apply. Sophomore year, junior year, there are scholarships that are just for you. So even if you find that freshman year, we did not close the gap like we wish we could have, and we are going to have to take out a loan, or we're going to have to do a payment plan. Payment plan is fine, but my objective would be for you guys not to have to take out a loan. And so if you find yourself in year 1, sometimes it happens. If you find yourself there, the goal is going to be continue applying for scholarships. Continue to apply for scholarships for freshmen, for sophomores, for college students, so that you do not have to continue to compound that loan for the next year and the year after that. Next slide. And so when we're talking about loans, I want to make sure that you guys have a good picture of what we are looking at. And so the first thing I want to look at is to compare interest rates and terms. I'm going to go into the next page and I'm going to talk to you about some of the loan options that are available out there for you guys. But make sure you know what your interest rates are. Mr. Jones was talking before about subsidized and unsubsidized loans. The reason that you're looking for the subsidized loans is because those are not going to accrue interest or start accruing interest until your student graduates. until your student graduates or stops going to classes for 6 months. So that means that during that time, if you start to have to take out a loan freshman year, if you've got a subsidized loan, the interest does not start clocking on that until they have graduated and they've been out of school for 6 months. If you're looking at an unsubsidized loan, the minute that check is cashed by the university, your clock has started. And college loans, I'm sure you guys know this already, are loans that are actually going to compound. So that means that that $10,000 loan that I took out, in 4 years, that $10,000 loan is going to have about $4,000 worth of interest on it. There is a reason that so many people sit on college debt and it's hard to get out of. It seems like it's a small amount of money, but that interest, because it's compounding, is going to be waiting for you when you graduate. When we're coming in here, one thing I also want to say, in keeping on number one, if you do find that you're going to need to take out a loan, my encouragement would be to pay the interest on the loan as you go, if you can do that. Like, sometimes you can only do what you can do. But if you have it within your ability to be able to pay out the $80, $90 then, that keeps you from having all of that. Then basically you're going to get charged interest twice. You're getting charged interest because you've got the loan outstanding, and then they're going to take all that interest that's accrued and then slap it on the tail end of your loan. We don't want to be charged interest twice. And so if we can do that, if we can go ahead and pay that interest now, just month to month, pay that $70 or whatever it might be, at least we're not going to have it compound on the other side. The next piece here, and I put them in order of, if it were me, I am not a financial planner, but if it were me, I'm going to tell you this is the order that I would accept loans in. The Stafford loan, we are talking about subsidized and unsubsidized. For 24-25, that rate was 6.53%. I would anticipate that that rate is going to come down because interest rates have dropped, but I don't know that for certain. But that's what the rate was. The reason I would go here first is because, one, you can use it anywhere. So the one that we're going to hit on next is only going to be for Texas students at Texas schools. It's a federal loan, which means that if there are any changes to where there's loan forgiveness or you have the option of being able to repackage it, you will be able to do that with the Stafford loan. The piece that I want you guys to understand is that that is only available to the student. So the Stafford loan would come out and it will be in the student's name. That is also for freshman year maxed at $5,500. So if you've got a small gap that you need to close, my suggestion would be to go with the Stafford loan. Many times this is going to be a subsidized loan, which means you're not going to start accruing interest on it, but know that the maximum that you can take out on that, it goes up a little bit each year, but not by much, is going to be $5,500 for that freshman year. The next piece, and this is for my students that are going to school in Texas. So you know I'm going to be going to a Texas school. The next approach that I would take would be looking at the College Access Loan. It's called the CAL. It's got its own application that you have to apply for it through, but the interest rate for this school year is 6.30%, okay? That would be my next approach that I would take. If for whatever reason you do not qualify for that one, or you do not plan to go to a school that is in the state of Texas, the next two, and now it's time to shop, just like you would for anything else. The second two is the Parent Plus loan. Parent Plus loan is a federal loan. It is a flat 9%. It is not a hard hit to your credit report. It is also, I would say, in my opinion, I think it's going to be easier to qualify for as well, unless you have got like a bankruptcy or you've got active things that have not been paid. You are more than likely going to be able to qualify for this one, and it is at 9%. If we're moving down, and this is if you need additional funding. So in our home, if we had needed additional funding, the approach would have been for us to go with the Stafford because it has got the lower interest rate. Then in our family, we would have taken on that debt because we want it paid off by the time the student graduates. And then if we needed to go to something else, we would have rolled over to the Parent Plus loan. Another piece that you can also consider is going to be D, and those are going to be private loans. So your Sallie Mae, your College Avenue, your bank, those interest rates vary. Some of them can be low. From College Confidential, one of the things that I did see is that typically when they are low, it is because they're putting it in the student's name with the parent as the co-signer. That is something for you to consider, whether or not you want your student to graduate and have that sitting on their credit report, have that kind of debt sitting on their credit report, but that is usually when you see the lowest interest rates. I think they recognize that there is going to be folks are going to be much more apt to make sure that it gets paid if it's in their child's name. But so those are just pieces to keep in mind. This is the order that I would recommend if you are going to need to do loan options for your student. And then 3, I'm just going to come back to, do not resign yourself to annual loans. So even if you've got to do it that first year, and again, it happens, that's okay. The goal is to get your student educated. When we're talking about return on investment, we've got to always keep that return on investment in mind. So if we've got to do it the first year, we've got to do it the first year. If we get caught in year 2 and we have to do it, that's okay, but keep in mind that the goal is always going to be looking for additional opportunities. And for us as parents, when we go in for like parent weekends and things along those lines, make your face known. Reach out to folks, reach out to other parents. If you have an alumni group, go to those events that they have so you can get to know other parents. They are a wealth of information. Whether it's a student becoming an RA and you can make a contact to where they've got their room and board being covered that next year. Whether it's a particular program that's like, oh yeah, did you know that has $5,000 a year attached to it? You want that information, and so just try to build relationships as much as you can. Have your student build relationships, particularly with their professors. We did not qualify for need-based aid, but I had Juliet just reach out because sometimes you just don't know and you want to keep all of your options open. Reach out and see if you might be able to do a college work study. If your department has opportunities, it will give you the chance to really get to know that professor and build a relationship, and it will also put some money in your student's pocket. And one other thing that I just wanted to mention, just being mindful of the order in which you go. And so do not go for the higher interest rate first. Obviously, we're going to go for the lowest. And if you can, decline offer. So a lot of times in your financial aid offer, I'm a little bit over, I promise I'm almost done. In your financial aid packaging, loans are considered to be an award. I don't consider loans to be an award. And so you can get scholarships that come in, and if the school says, we do not want you to have anything over the cost of attendance, you might need to make sure that you're balancing that and declining those loan offers as you need to go. Don't take the loan until you absolutely know you need to. So maybe do the prep work that you've got to do so that you're ready to execute if you need to execute. But remember, you and your scholar, you guys are applying for scholarships all summer long, and you don't know when they're going to hit. Do your prep work so that you've got the loan available if you need to take it, but don't execute it until you absolutely know funding is due on this date and we don't have it yet. Next slide, please. I'm going to leave this for you guys to go over. It's details about that Cal loan, and this again would be specific to those students who are applying, who are Texas residents, and who are also applying to Texas schools. And this will be in the presentation that we send out. And there's a link there to be able to access the application as well. Next slide. I also wanted to just include some resources on here for you guys. So there's a link to the FAFSA for CSS profile schools, so you know all of those schools that will require you to give that form to them as well. College Confidential, I put it in there. I just think it's a wealth of information. Even when there are special like fellowships that are offered, you will have parents that have had kids that have gone through it, and they'll say, oh, my kid was required to have this test score, things that you will never be able to find out from the university. But parents like to talk. You can ask questions. It is an absolute, to me, I think it was a great resource. And then another item that I included in here is College Aid Pro. That is a site that will give you access to be able to kind of get an idea of all the funding that your school might have available to you. And it gives you an idea and lets you know generally students with, if you've got this income and you've got this SAT and this GPA, your offer will probably look like this. It is not exact, but I like it. I did find they partner with schools, and so the data is usually very accurate. So that's another site that you can use. There's a part of it that's free, and then to be able to do cost analysis and comparison, you have to pay for. And then lastly, calculator.net. This gives you the opportunity to really go in with your scholar and take a look at what is it going to cost. And so for them, they may be thinking, gosh, that's really not a lot. This $10,000 loan, is that all? I want them to see. In our family, one of the clicking moments came with me pulling out a whiteboard and explaining, this is why I have you applying for so many scholarships. This is the debt that I don't want you sitting on. You do not want your students sitting on a mortgage when they leave college. That is a lot. That is a lot to get from underneath, and they're making money, and now they don't understand why it is they're not able to do the things that they want to do. We have made the investment here. We have made the investment here at Brentwood, and so we just want to finish strong. Our goal is going to be apply, apply, apply. Our students are top tier. We know that they are. Our results demonstrate that they are, and their character is second to none. And I don't just say that to be telling you stuff. These kids, some of these guys that are seniors, I have known them since they are in kindergarten. Those are the kinds of students that we have. And there's a scholarship for everything under the sun. There's scholarships for students that do not have over a 3.0 GPA, like specific scholarships for that. There are scholarships for students who have parents that did this or didn't do that. So specific, we just have to dig. And I know that it can get time consuming, but the way I see it is, I do not make like a couple of $100 an hour. So if I go in and she applies for a scholarship that's $1,000 and it took us 5 hours, that's more than I could have earned, and that's far more than she could have earned. So it was worth it. It is worth the time. And so if we just think of it that way, but sometimes it does help to just demonstrate to them and let them see, this is what I'm trying to keep you from. I'm not trying to nag you. I simply, it's appearing to me talking now. I simply do not want you to leave college and have all of that debt sitting on you, okay? Next slide. This is it. I went longer. I always go over. I try so hard, y'all. I really do. We have got cookies outside for you guys, and Mr. Jones and I are always available. There are a lot more of you guys than there are of us, so it's probably not feasible for us to have that conversation tonight. But by all means, if you have questions, if I move through something too quickly, if you have questions for Mr. Jones or myself, shoot us an email. We will schedule a time to sit down with you or to sit down with your scholar, and we can kind of walk through in more detail for you guys. But there are cookies, and there's water, and thank you all for coming. I know there's a lot going on, and so I appreciate you guys being with us tonight. Thank you.